Hello everybody, and thank you for the introduction. I think it's really appropriate that I step on stage right after Andrew, who messaged that not everything has to be digitized, and I'm coming from a country where we identify ourselves as e-Estonia, so thanks a lot for that introduction. My name is Ülly, and I'm here today with a story. This is how we fixed the public services in Estonia. And I'm here with two of my colleagues, Helena and Daniel. Where are you? You can wave. We are a team of 3 people. You see some of us more smiling personalities than the others. And we are also complementing each other very well in terms of that Helena has a background from one of the leading design agencies in Estonia called Velvet. Anything basically from the product design, service design, web developments, whatever could be there. Daniel has been a freelance designer and all over strongly having universal design as his passion and strongly in his heart. And then I'm more from the policy development field with my recent post being commissioned to Brussels as Estonia was holding the presidency of the Council of the EU. And more how we can support the strategic processes through certain methods, tools, setting the environment for the different people to work together, in that case 28 member states, to negotiate on the policy issues and come to the decisions. So this is who we are. And when I say that we are a freshly established team, you must realize already that we have actually titled our presentation today slightly twisted, as there is no story yet, to be honest. We are probably the youngest baby in this community today. Indeed, 3 weeks we've been together as a team, and we've been formed for the next 3 years with a mission to inspire and support the design of public services so that they would be more user-centered, and obviously will be working, embracing the wide range of different concepts and methodologies into this process. But maybe it's fair to say that human-centered design and participatory change management would be some which we will be mostly leaning upon. So we are extremely excited to be here, a part of this community, alongside with our really first steps. Many thanks to Martin and Cara for inviting us here, and basically the whole idea of kindly accepting this invitation to shout out what is this initiative in Estonia now is something which we believe is the power of a network like this. So we're going to open up the story, what we are about to do, with a hope that you help us to create that story through your experiences and things we can actually create together. When we were preparing for today's presentation, we thought, okay, maybe we will first introduce shortly the wider context of our initiative, Estonia. But I saw the raise of hands who were there yesterday already when Lauri Lugna, our Secretary General, was talking about, and voila, I guess there's no urgent need actually to stay too long on Estonian context anymore, which is good. And maybe it's even a good example actually how the high state officials can pave a positively good way for the designers to focus on their work. So many thanks, Lauri, for that as well, and doing that part already yesterday. But just maybe to quickly recap, indeed, we are a very small country with 1.3 million people. What's there to innovate? It's basically some streets of some other countries. We are a country, like I said, with what we like to identify ourselves, like e-Estonia, with 99% of public services being online already. Basically, only 3 things you cannot do online: getting married, getting divorced, and real estate transactions. For these, you still have to get out of your house, which might be a wise thing as well, but basically, indeed, I think there is quite some basis already in terms of digitalization and public services as such. This is a room for the e-cabinet, where our ministers, where they meet. It was introduced as a paperless system for the cabinet to work. Basically most of the work is actually happening before the meeting of the cabinet then, with the minister's opportunity to log in, to work through all the documents, to do the pre-voting, raise the questions and comments before, and actually they discuss in the cabinet meeting only the things which have been raised as controversial, or there are things which they could not already agree before, which has reduced the average duration of the cabinet meeting from 5 hours to 30 minutes. So obviously very clear sign of efficiency in through quite a simple, in a way, approach. E-voting system, and maybe I would skip the technology part and rather mention as one of the non-technological innovations in that sense that since last year, voting is also open to the citizens since the age of 16, one of the few countries in Estonia, and we are extremely proud of that innovation as well. We think this is really a powerful perspective in order to make the participation in the life of society more active for also younger generation. And maybe the last point about what we call Estonian Mafia, which is basically the strong startup community and culture. We are very proud of that. We think this is also a kind of mindset of Estonians in general, but obviously we have to be realistic and say that it takes quite some legislative frameworks and supportive environment to be created so that the things like that can happen. So I think it's based even on these examples. It's fair to say that obviously these things did not necessarily happen only because of the very forward-thinking government actions, but they clearly need strong support from the legislative frameworks, from the policymakers, and then the cooperation also and involvement actively from both the non-governmental sector and through cooperation with private partners. And I think this is one of the key as well we would really like to emphasize even more than working now. So now we are in a situation, okay, this is Estonia, the new innovation lab team has been created. Yesterday someone asked me during this conference, after listening to Lauri's presentation, that does a country like Estonia really need an innovation lab? Which might be indeed a good question to ask, but at the same time I think this is really in this notion that we believe indeed you don't need innovation labs in order for the innovation to happen. But what we see in our country, for example, is that we have really put a lot of effort into the digital developments, and the IT competence, I believe it's fair to say, is a very strong one in Estonia, which does not necessarily mean that all the digital developments what have taken place in Estonia are the most user-friendly to use after all. So I think for us, the challenge really from one part of the side is to try to strengthen the competence of the human-centered design really more widely, and also more deeply rooted into the public sector, so that the colleagues in the public sector can also be more competent and demandful towards the cooperation in further actions in a way. Just shortly how it happened, that now then the Innovation Lab was established. Obviously it's a longer story of different factors combined together, but maybe a significant one is that in 2016 the government office established an expert group on national level to work on the government sector and social innovation. It brought together both the different ministries, the academia and the non-governmental sector representatives to brainstorm what could be the future perspectives for even to strengthen the new approaches in the public sector. And one of the suggestions for them was then actually to establish a small in-house team who could additionally to what is already existing in different national institutions, government institutions, maybe even from a neutral position, try to inspire and support the human-centered design approaches into the design of public services, and especially those which involve various stakeholders, a lot of sub-services, and already due to that more complex and challenging to manage and change. It was a common initiative of 6 ministries in Estonia to form innovation lab like that. So basically we have a governance board with secretary generals from all these ministries together with a strategy director in the government office who is our partner, our hierarchy in a way to set up the action plans now and decide, okay, how we're going to actually make an impact through the innovation lab activities. When I mention that, you obviously understand that this is, in a way, one of the elements which shows a clear approach of a strong mandate of having such a high-level attention and support and go-thinking by a government board like that. At the same time, we are really aware that it might add a challenge also to come to the decisions in a way. So I think it's an interesting element to see as well how it will actually support us, that we have a very strong already joint forces approach from the different ministries, which might be, again, one of the examples we want to see how it in reality will start to work and blossom. So obviously now, there will be a lot of innovation going on, caution, in the state institutions. But basically we have 3 projects which the different ministries have agreed might be the first key challenges. One of them is something which is titled the Demand Responsive Mobility System. I think in Estonia we are struggling with the situation that we have 2 fragmented systems of school transport, social transport, and at the same time we have the people who cannot actually go to doctor, live their way in a way that the public transport would be able maybe to meet their needs in a most convenient way. So again, based on the pilot which has now been developed in one of the small islands of Estonia with approximately 30,000 inhabitants, we tried to experiment and pilot with the approach where we really try to see what kind of all transport systems there are and try to bring the needs closer to the resources which are maybe not fully exploited as well at this very moment. Of course, in a wider, longer future perspective, one might think that also the self-driving cars, which are expected at a certain point maybe to serve most of the service transport as well, might be the issue to discover and involve into a system like that. But basically, we start on a very small scale and then try to go it on to the other communities in Estonia as well. The second project is something we could refer to as the digital tools to support the effective drafting of legislations, which basically comes from the fact that we have currently an e-platform or e-environment for the state officials who are involved practically in the drafting the legislations. And the reality is that there is a lot of stress around this process because a lot of work is actually handcrafted, copy-pasting from different documents, different environments. And somebody before asked Andrew about the organizational stress. I think this is a very clear sign that the state officials are losing a lot of time and a lot of energy because there is not a clear tool to support their work in this process. The other side of that coin is actually that in drafting of legislation, there is also a clear role for the citizens to early know already what is their cooking and have their say in that. And at the moment, the digital platforms for doing that are not really user-friendly, so we actually are missing the opportunity for the people to understand where certain topics are, how they could contribute. And obviously, this is not only the question of digital tools, but really the wider concept is how we can support the active participation in society. So what kind of tools we have to work out in order to make it really happen from the citizen point of view. And the third one is something which is, and you see they are all very different. The third one is something which is a very sensitive topic. It is how to support the customer journey or journey of the cancer patients in the medical treatment system. Unfortunately, even in a small country like Estonia, it happens that people get lost in all of the different stages in the treatment between the different medical institutions. Not speaking of the thing that this is extremely sensitive news when you get to know that you've been diagnosed cancer, and how we could build up the system so that it is really respectful towards the people who are going through such a situation in their life, and how we could build up a system that is most human-centered and friendly for them and convenient to experience. A very sensitive one, again involving a different medical institutions, the Ministry of Social Affairs, and of course, first of all, the perspective of people who are going it through. Besides these projects, also we are ears and eyes now to discover where the further needs in Estonia are in different ministries, in different policy fields, and also asking ourselves, okay, how could we actually build up a system that policy officials also feel comfortable to say that, hey, I'm a little bit struggling here with this problem now, and who could come and help me in terms of the service design, and invite colleagues even from the other sectors in the public services and government sector to come along and think along. So we will be working also on the training and networking. We have got a lot of inspiration already from the days here through your examples of how you've set up the communities in your countries, and this is definitely something we would like to do as well. So any hints on how, through which training and networking activities we could help to support the community in Estonia. So this is where we are. It's a bit like this. But it's also fair to say that we often end our days in office or after the meetings totally in total mess, and being quite lost in all of the information, in all the expectations. Again, everybody who is familiar with the design process would say you are on good track then. But at the same time, still we feel as a very new team that how to build from this, not being so vulnerable maybe, but really to be able to build up on this. So we definitely are in the situation of defining also possible risks. Already from the first weeks, seeing clearly that it might be that there will be quite some reluctance. We will be facing from the different colleagues who are responsible for services in order to introduce the changes. Load of different expectations which we are not able to meet, things like that. I don't think I can surprise you with that, because the talks during the conference have been so much about it, and probably had to find good ways to mitigate these risks and be able to make it work despite of that. So this is more or less our story today. We will hope that this is, we have shared with you now where we are. Nothing is there yet, more or less, which can be a very exciting part as well, isn't it? And we really hope that this might be a kind of trampoline for you now to approach us and to see where we can work together, maybe what your experiences are, either in these specific key areas or training, networking, everything what is there to build up the strong human-centered design capacity in the public sector as such for the public services. So thank you very much. You can find us like that, or then coming to Estonia, which you are very welcome to do so.